A lot of creators are out there, and I understand that it's a necessary evil to a degree. But they're fracturing their minds with just like obsessively thinking about the analytics and obsessively thinking about like what's going to get seen, what's going to get clicks, what's the most grabby, what's the most, whatever. And their minds get so into that. And like I said, it's fine. I'm not going to villainize that. There's something nice about that. I do that to a degree. Everyone does. Yeah. But when that thing that should be in the back seat, maybe even in the trunk, takes the steering wheel, that's when you start to get the people who you go, what's going on in their camp? Because people aren't really talking about this, like mental health in space and actually stepping away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Creative Disruption. I'm your host, Ricky Ray Butler, and I am so excited about today's session or today's episode. We're with Garrett Watts. Garrett, how are you doing?
Better now that I'm looking at this cool cowboy named Ricky Ray Butler. No, we were just talking off camera now, saying I watch a lot of Western movies, and you look like, a guy who'd come into the salon and be like, looking for vengeance.
Well, I am definitely from a Western area. I'm from a very redneck town. Rodeos were a big deal. I lived in the mountains like a hillbilly, and so thank you for recognizing and seeing me as that Westerner.
Oh, you're welcome. In fact, I have a picture right here of your great grandfather from the Western Times.
That's just so, Garrett.
Yeah,
I've been really excited about this podcast. I'm excited that Cameron connected us to be able to do this together. You have some of the most brilliant, I would say, brilliant comedic content on TikTok. Where
my gosh.
I will really just go through it. And I'll just start chuckling and laughing, and my belly will start bouncing. It's amazing content, and it catches me off guard. I'm never knowing what to expect. And then you also have done such a great job on YouTube as well. Let's talk about how you got started in all of this.
I'll talk to you about any old thing. I love it. Oh, I'm getting geeked. This is nice because I wake up very, very, very late in the days. So I haven't had much coffee, but I'll tell you right now, Ricky, you're my coffee this morning, okay, or this afternoon. But I love it. You know what? Hit me with any old thing you want to know, or you could just be like, go, and then I'll just start spewing words and not stop.
How did you get started? How did you become a creator? What happened in your career, and where was there an inflection point that got you into creating content?
Sure. What's funny is I moved out here. I moved out here once upon a time. My moving to Los Angeles, I don't even know when I moved here. You know how some people are like, oh, it's my 5-year anniversary, my 10-year anniversary. I don't even know when that happened for me. It was funny because as a kid, I had an uncle who lived out here, and I always just knew I would end up here. So I moved here right after high school. And to be completely honest, I'm probably a bit of a failure because I thought at this point I'd be directing Charlie's Angels 3. That was the dream. I was penning scripts in high school to be like, it's going to be great. Drew Barrymore and Lucy Liu, they're all going to be a little bit older by that point, but that's going to be fine. I'm going to reincorporate them into the story, and they're going to come. It's this whole thing. So I thought I wanted to be a director is what I'm saying in way too many words. But yeah, then Vine came along. When I first moved out here, was the era of Vine pretty much. And I was working so many jobs. Any job you can imagine, I worked it here in Los Angeles. Well, maybe not any job, but a lot of jobs. But yeah, I was working at this place called Aroma Coffee and Tea up here in Studio City, and I was doing PA jobs every other day and whatever. And I started, at the end of the day when I was just dead after 16-hour days, I'd bust out this app called Vine. And thank God I did, because I would just start making stuff there, and it was really fun. And through that, I got a community of people following me. But honestly, also the coolest part of that was the community that I built around just myself here in Los Angeles in terms of my social circles. And to this day, my social circles are still former Viners. Everyone, 80% of my friends are all people who are on that app. And we've all sort of come up together creatively, which is really exciting.
And you're part of the Vine invasion on YouTube.
You know what's funny? Yeah, that was an interesting thing to see which of us... It felt like the Hunger Games or something. Which of us are going to kind of figure it out, figure out the long form stuff. But what's funny is my heart always belonged in longer form things. Because I was going through UCLA's extensions, like film school classes and stuff. And like that was always my thing, was film and longer form. And it was really hard for me to make short form stuff. So it was funny because when I realized that I kind of wanted to start making money off of what I do and realized that there was an avenue for that, I was like, oh, YouTube is a thing that I could do. So I felt very great. Yeah, so I got started there. But yeah, I used to work at a company called Funny or Die. And
was that before Vine or after Vine?
That was during Vine. So this sounds so self-complimentary to bring this up, but I won an award through LA Weekly for the best Vine presence in Los Angeles, which felt really cool because I had never won anything. And I landed a general meeting at Funny or Die through that. And, they had a general with me, and it was just very kind of like, oh, so you do Vine. Cool. All right. Well, if we have any ideas, email us. And then like that kind of thing. It was like, here's a water. Bye. And I was just kind of like, no. So I took it upon myself to do some research and kind of see where they fell in like the grand scheme of comedy content. So I went back in with like a what is it called? Like a slideshow basically. And I was like, hey guys, you're like this place in like comedy content online. You don't have a presence on Snapchat. You don't have a presence here. You're not doing this. So like bring me on and let's get started. And thank God they did. And yeah, I worked there for a couple years with their short form content and making all short form content with like the celebrities and stuff that would come in, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, they that ended, and I started on YouTube, and I was and it worked, which is something that I can't really comprehend till this day. So again, apologies if that was far too many words.
No, that's very helpful. Like, so when you were at Vine, what did you learn at Vine that helped you really do well with YouTube, as well as TikTok? Like,
sure.
Did you learn how to look at the data? Like, what did you do to like optimize your growth?
I see what this is now. Dude, this is great. I'm now realizing the theme of this podcast and this episode, and I'm gonna get to the nitty gritty a bit because I actually any time that I can get in front of people who want to talk about this sort of thing, I actually like it because I do feel like I have a bit of a different take on this. One thing that I like to speak about to anyone who will listen who's interested in content here in Los Angeles, and when I say content, and this is my entire point, I mean any content. So what I found in my past and just working at Funny or Die and in a lot of different places is not necessarily people at Funny or Die, but a lot of people around it. There are so many people in this entire city that are so obsessed with the medium that something is on. And they like to, it's almost like a weird like system that they want to put it in, like this weird caste system of like, where does it fall in the importance, And so obviously the upper echelon is like film and then television and then TikTok and then YouTube and then all these different things. And people's minds, for some reason, maybe it's perhaps because we're so linear, but they can only go down these paths of what screen is something is on. And having come up adoring like being a total film guy and like loving the Criterion collection almost to the point of like being pretentious about like just being so obsessed with like all these films and stuff, but also short form content. I just started to get the realization over time that I wish I could just scream to everyone in this city to stop caring about what screen it's on and to simply make cool things. That's it. And like I can repeat that 5 times over and over and people still want to like break it down and try to figure it out and what about it. Yeah. It's just like nobody cares. Unfortunately, as precious as some of those things are to us, as precious as quality is a lot of the time and how hard we want to go in on watching certain things or creating certain things, at the end of the day, and of course quality still needs to remain. I'm obsessed with that as well. It needs to, because we've all seen those pieces of content online that we go, oh God, why are people watching this? But like, so the quality still has to be there, but it is one of those things to where, at the end of the day, it's just an energy wave, and you have to speak to what people want to actually see as opposed to what you're I don't know, like it's nice, and people don't really care what screen it comes on, especially nowadays when people are just looking to drop their shoulders a little bit, right? After the few years we've had, and so I find that it's just kind of nice
they want to be entertained.
Yeah, they want to be entertained, exactly.
They want to be able to learn.
So I try just to not like think too much about the screen that it's coming through or the medium that it's coming through, and just think about the energy wave, because I find that a lot of people who do what I do are absolutely fracturing themselves.
Yeah.
In Harry Potter, like Voldemort, like the villain, he starts to fracture his soul, and that's how he loses himself. He starts to like split it into 7 pieces, and then he becomes this evil shell of himself. Sorry to be like this nerdy tangent, but I always think I think about that sometimes, because it's like, I find that not that a lot of creators are like Voldemort,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying
Some
is
are. Some definitely are.
I can't. Okay, what I'm saying is
There's a shadow to this creator economy for sure.
oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's some Death Eaters out there posting TikToks. But no, it is funny though, because I think about that, because you have a lot of creators. It's not the craziest analogy. This is what I'm saying with this, is that a lot of creators are out there, and I understand that it's a necessary evil to a degree. But they're fracturing their minds with just like obsessively thinking about the analytics, and obsessively thinking about like what's going to get seen, what's going to get clicks, what's the most grabby, what's the most, whatever. And their minds get so into that. And like I said, it's fine. I'm not going to villainize that. There's something nice about that. I do that to a degree. Everyone does. Yeah. But when that thing that should be in the back seat, maybe even in the trunk, takes the steering wheel, that's when you start to get the people who you go, what's going on in their camp? What's going on behind closed doors? What is this? Do they not have anyone? Are there a bunch of yes men around them? What's happening? Like, what? How could this get made? And then even just for themselves too. Like, it is kind of funny, because I have a lot of friends that are also creators, and I feel like a lot of them eventually kind of like break down and need to come over and just like sit around a fire pit and talk because people aren't really talking about this, like mental health in space and actually stepping away. We've all seen creators who are like, hey, I need to take a break for myself, and then they'll be back 3 days later or 2 days later. It's like, oh, hey, that wasn't a break, that was a nap. So yeah, I mean, I love talking about this, and like I said, I'm not good at brevity, so apologies to the listeners or viewers.
You bring up a good point that sometimes when you become too analytical or too data driven, it becomes soulless, and maybe less passionate. But the companies that I run and I lead, there's always a data component, and it's to leverage data to empower creators or artists to create art. And to make it so they can be creative and get rid of all the busy work or the tedious work. And so I think you're right, because I think there's some people that are just over obsessed, and they get too nervous or too paranoid about those different things, and it makes it a rougher experience for them, when really, if you want to leverage tools or data, it should really be in a place to make it so you can be more creative, more passionate about what you're doing, and help you save time and give you efficiencies.